guys, welcome back to Coldborough Farm, where we're continuing ploughing, because that's about all we can do at the moment. And yes, I am still using GPS to do this, because it's the easiest way to do it. It's the most accurate way, and it's the way that involves least mistakes for me. We're almost done with conigers, which is good. And I think once we're done with this field, it might be worth rowing up the grass for silage. I decided I'm going to row up 2 or 3 fields for silage and I'm going to aim for about 100 bales. I think that's a good number. I think the GPS module is a bit off today. Oh well, it works. It's good enough. Yeah, I'm gonna aim for about 100 silage bales. Luckily, I'll know how many bales there are because of how many grass bales I end up with, and because I'm going to do the silage first, that means I'll have a decent idea of, well, I'll know exactly how many fields of hay I'll have, which is pretty important as well. Now, I'm going to go for about 100 hay bales as well, which means, what, 400,000 litres of silage, 400,000 litres of hay. After I hit that, I am going to be happy, number 1. And number 2 is I'm going to get a small baler, small hay baler. I have seen one, it's a Sipma. I believe it's a Z224, but I'm not 100% sure. At least the guy at the shop told me it was a Z224. He could be horribly wrong and not know what he's talking about. But I'm sure he's right. But better safe than getting a baler you didn't expect. So I've been told that produces bales with every 250 litres of hay as opposed to every 4,000 from a round baler. The square baler will also take about 4,000 litres of hay if I wish to use it, which I don't. So I'm going to be getting loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of small square bales, but they're all going to be sold off. The only reason I'm gonna do small bales is because as I mentioned before, there is a stable nearby. And the stable wants small bales because it's a bit easier to feed the horses with the small square bales than it is with the big ones. And I can deal with that. I think it's a one-off payment for the Sigma. He said it more or less takes care of itself, and there's some weird thing going on where it's actually free to run. I mean, there's no... The baling twine company is actually going to give me all the twine I'll ever need for that baler. Probably because it takes some weird one that they want to get rid of, I guess. And they've got it. I guess stocking errors happen a lot, so they must have a ton of parts for a Sipma Z224 or something. I don't know. It must take some kind of unique twine that Gary bought in 1,000,000 miles of or something. And it's always a Gary that makes these weird errors like that. I mean, Gary done goofed and bought 700 tons of chips, and now we're having a £1 chips sale. Or at least that's what I think the picture said. But the picture didn't say how many chips he'd bought. There's a picture online of a sale in a shop, and it was £1 chips because Gary ordered too many or something like that, or Gavin or something. But some name beginning with a G. And I think the stock guy in the shop, the shop where I get my baling from, I think his name is Gary. I think he might have screwed up. It might have been his protege, but Gary is known to make some mistakes. Let's put it that way. I'm not bad-mouthing the guy. He's a wonderful guy, but he does make mistakes every so often. And the mistakes he does make are usually kind of comical. So I'm guessing at some point he heard there was a SIPMA nearby, or a SIPMA going to be sold off, or somebody had a SIPMA Z224 and he decided, well, that must be a popular baler, let's get loads of stuff for it. Because even spare parts are going to be free. So if anything ever breaks, I'm going to essentially have it fixed immediately. And that baler is never going to be out of action. It might not be used that much, but never be out of action. So that's the plan anyways. I'm going to round bale up a few fields of grass for silage, and I'll pretty much roll them up and then bale them immediately, so that I don't end up having to ted a field that I've already rolled. So luckily there's a bale counter, so I'll get an idea of when I hit 100 bales I can stop. And if I'm in the middle of the field, obviously I'm going to finish off the field, because there's no point in having half a field silage bales and half a field of hay bales. No, I'm going to finish off the field, then do the same with hay bales. I know there's a few fields that I missed. I'm actually going to go and mow them once I've got conigers done and ploughed up. I'm going to leave this until I've got all the straw, all the hay work done, and all the silage work done, because that is kind of a priority. There's no major rush to seed right now. I do have a few days to get it done. I mean, it says 3 days until the next growth spurt happens or whatever. I'm going to give myself 6 days to plant. I didn't turn on GPS. I actually turned it on and then turned it back off again, didn't I? So what happens when I get into a habit and then realise I've screwed up the habit. So yeah, I can't remember how much that baler costs. Let's have a look in the shop. Baling technology, it should be over here somewhere, I think. Here we go, 5,500. Yeah, that's not a lot. As you can see, oh, €1 a day it costs to run. Yeah, I might rent it for a couple of hours for outright buying it, but it's essentially a free baler. It's not going to be the most efficient way of getting bales ever, and pick them up is going to be hell, I think. But we do have the Ford, and I think that would be well suited to running the little Sigma baler. Especially seeing as, well, I think it would be a bit silly having a Lamborghini this size pulling a small square baler. Almost done with this field, to the point where I'm thinking, yeah, it's not really worth turning on or using the GPS module after this run, yeah. So let's turn it off. And let's just do this a silly way. Because the most important thing is just getting the field plowed up and the sod's turned over, I can worry about breaking the clumps and clods afterwards. Doesn't particularly matter all that much. Certain areas don't particularly matter all that much. So see, this is going to be good for breaking up the clods. I'm going to have to somewhat perpendicular to what I've already ploughed. Very slowly because I want to do this correctly. I missed one, I think. Let's see how we're doing. I can afford to go out a bit more here. There we go. That's... no, too far. Ooh. That's a bit more like it. So, we're just going to crawl around here. Get our headland done, and then once that's done we'll bring out, we'll just abandon the plough at the house meadow, which is going to be our next field to get ploughed. We will cultivate conifers first, but if we leave the plough by house meadow, it'll remind me that I need to house meadow, basically. So I'm not going to worry about getting 100% plough coverage here, as well. Like I've already said, like I've already said, I am going to be cultivating, and that's going to be what's breaking up the clods. This is just to turn over the sod and get as much of it as I can underground, but it's not essential that I get it all underground. Well, this is what I do need to slow down. This is a now I could of course go into that field there, which is... yeah, I could go into grindstone next, but I think... house meadow is probably a better one to do next, because it is the biggest field on the farm. And it's going to take the longest, which means the earlier we get it done, the better. After house meadow, we're going to move on to a small field because I'm going to feel like killing myself at that point, and I won't want to be ploughing forever and ever and ever again, and just get some cultivation done and then go back to, you know, just get a couple of small fields done and then go back to the big long slug of these size fields, because this is, at this point, this is 2 and a bit hours work, and we're just about finished, and it's not perfect. It's nowhere near perfect. Don't ever count this work as being perfect. Oh boy, is it bad. Yikes, I'm missing like half the fields. I never did say I was a brilliant farmer. I'm just better than the last guy that was here, because I'm at least somewhat careful. And I seem to plan things out and actually worry about, you know, soil moisture, pH, and nutrient levels. And there are quite a few weed infestations in this area. I'm going to have to come out with the herbicides, which is one thing that I'm worried about. The last guy didn't seem to be. Either that or all the herbicide had gone in conveniently. All trace of it disappeared by the time I took the soil sample, which I have to admit is a possibility. I know that happens. If you're wondering, there is actually a soil sampler and tester on the plough, which is how I'm getting this laboratory. There's also a couple, I believe, mounted on or near the wheels, and they just look at the coloration of the ground and give me a rough idea of what's going on with the soil. So that's the ploughing done, and I'm going to leave this field just ploughed for now, and just leave it sit in the sun and probably dry out a bit, because that's a thing that's just going to happen anyway. the best plan for right now is just to get some silage in. To get that sort of started at least. So I think I might actually need another attachment for the front loaders for that. Don't worry about that when the time comes. Also, yes, you may notice out of character that the header for my harvester has been scooting along ever so slowly in between episodes. I have noticed that, I have taken note, and I am not impressed. It's something that I'll be able to fix by resetting and stuff, but it's not something that I'm going to worry about right now. I believe it's a known bug in a lot of stuff. It's a known bug in a lot of stuff, it's just part of the way the game works. So, gonna head down here and get back in character right about now. So, this guy's driving. Oh, now he's driving at the speed limit, I'm going quickly. I think I left a windrower down here. I think I have a windrower at least. It should be down here, but I do have one. So we're going to start off with meadow I just passed. So that was, I think, 22 on the map. So let's see, there it is. Oh, I've come into this at the worst angle, but it's, as you can see, some of the oil pallets have been acting up. In other words, I've been hitting them with things and knocking them off enough so that things get wonky, and I haven't had the time to fix them. So I just moved them further off. So let's get going with some windrowing. Hey, hey. I am going to have to hop out of the tractor here very quickly just to open up the gate. So, I don't know this way. No. Okay. So let's have a look at what's going on in here. Grass. Yeah, that's nice and wilted. That's perfect. That looks just about perfect for rowing up for silage. Like I said, we're going to do one field at a time. We're going to do it slowly and methodically and get this done right. So you can guess what the next video is going to be about. It's going to be me driving around, probably windrowing still, and then with the baler. Possibly from drone view, because I'm not too confident you'll be able to see all that much with this view. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to follow down the middle line here, which is kind of hard to see at times, but gives me a decent idea of where the rotors are of the window. So, oh god, I went really close into the edge of the points. It's slightly worrying, but shouldn't be much of an issue. I don't think it'll be much of an issue anyway. How am I doing? Looking nice and neat. Wonderful. So, I know I can windrow a bit faster than this, but I'm taking it a bit easy because I want to do this right. Same as with the ploughing. I know in out of character, in reality, you would never see a farmer coming out of a ploughed field just to do some windrow for silage. No, well, pretty much because there are two things that happen at different times of year entirely. The ploughing usually takes place on possibly second or third cut silage, I guess, but it's a long shot. You know, second or third cut silage with some post-harvest ploughing. I guess you might see some farmers doing this, but I don't know. It's highly unlikely. And the only reason it's happening here is because that's the way the storm's worked out. That's the way things are. We're going to do a second cut to get things into a normal kind of regime where we're just finishing. Well, basically, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get some of the fields planted, and then we're going to do kind of a simulated second cut where we do some other fields. And that's done. Let's raise this up. Let's get lined up for the next pass. Absolute hands out. Let's go over here and do start the second headland over here. And again, I'm just trying to stay lined up with this middle lane, which is where the front one was, so I'm just trying to follow my own tyre tracks around from mowing. And that is not going to go well, I don't think. Because I remember in places the mowing was a bit disastrous. Let's just see how I go. Yeah, I'm going to do a second cut once I've got some seeding done. Just to kind of get into what would be a more realistic regime of second cut would be done after seeding. Or first cut will be done after seeding, and I don't think there'll be any need for a second cut. Realistically, I think one cut should do us for the entirety of this map. So I might even do without the second cut that I'm planning. Or if I do, I'll just make tons of hay bales and sell them all off. Big hay bales, not the small ones that I'm planning on doing with this cut. Good Lord, wait. If you saw the mod spotlight on Saturday, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be long, and I'm gonna hate myself by the end of it, but it's gonna be good. So I'm trying to think of something to do for the next 8 minutes, because all I'm going to be doing is pretty much going up and down this field. And I know that's the entire point of farming, is just kind of going around fields and making sure everything's working right. Have I managed to? Yes, I have. In fact, gone offline, so let's get this line nicely again. So match up more or less. And let's start doing straight lines, because that's actually slightly easier. I say that and immediately the first one's going to be hell. Here we go. So 2 headlands looks about right for this field. I could possibly get away with, I could possibly do a third to make it a bit neater and have some more straight lines in the third, but 2 works because the lock in this Lamborghini is tight enough that I can do this and get away when having 2 headlands. We'll be using the Lamborghini with the baler as well, which means we're doing pretty much the same thing, and probably running around trying to stop bales as well, because that happens. It's a lot easier to turn when there's an awkward angle like this, funnily enough, because you get a bit of bonus space from the awkward angle. So, we're 25 minutes, more or less, well, almost 25 minutes. I've no idea what else there is to talk about. I mean, we're doing this for the cows, the sheep are relatively well fed, the cows are doing well, there's milk in the milk tank, there's manure in the pit, there's slurry in the slurry lagoon. Oh, not a slurry. In fact, enough slurry that I'm considering spreading some. Don't start talking about the water tanker again. I've gone through that with you guys. Water tanker. Yes, it is a slurry tanker. Yes, it is too big to be realistic for water or milk. And yes, I should have a smaller one. But it's the only one that I could find that was in any way decent looking. Once NI modding / Euro DZ ending at the animal feeding mod, I have a nice sized one, not to carry milk, and on every other map that has manual milk sales, you won't be able to play. It's the only map, possibly the only map that this is going to happen on. Because I know there are a few other mods that I could use. I didn't look until it started this map though, so... just deal with the unrealistic milk and water stuff for now. Or you can pretend it's a smaller trailer, because I rarely ever have it full. So, yeah, I have no idea what else to talk about. These swaths look really nice. They're nice and neat. Nice big swaths, so it looks like we're getting, I would say, not brilliant, not perfect yield, but really good grass yield. Really good crop of grass. So that means we're going to have plenty of silage for our cows. And we can actually use it for the beef, cattle, and pigs once we get them. And I've been told that I am to get the beef, cattle and pigs going before I even think about selling, before I even think about paying off the loan, which means I'm just that. And I've also been told I have to get 100 of each. Although, as a kind of a bonus point, I've been told 100 of each can be 50 males and 50 females, so that I can have a balance of males and females and actually use them to breed with each other. While it's massively incestuous, not probably the best for the animal's well-being, it's money. And it means I'll get an infinite supply of pigs and beef once I get up to the 100, which means I can sell them to the sell them at the market and make money and maybe do some swaps so there isn't insane levels of inbreeding. So I can do some swaps with some guys around here. I'm sure they won't mind. In fact, I'm sure that they'll actually appreciate it, because there aren't that many breeders of cattle and pigs around. The beef cattle are going to be a different breed to the milk herd, because I'm going to get a beef herd going that is nice tender meat. You know, they're going to be primarily grass-fed, which means they'll be tender to begin with. Grass-fed cattle tend to have more tender meat because they actually have more muscle, so they produce more meat. And that meat will be more tender because the muscles are well used, because they're going up and down hills and walking around fields instead of just being cooped up in a shed all day, being fed, you know, grain feeds, which I know happens in some countries because there just isn't enough grass to justify it, and not enough, you know, free farmland. And those cattle, while they're still delicious beef cattle, they're just not as good as grass-fed, or primarily grass-fed, which is what the main amount of Irish beef cattle are. The same in Britain, I believe. It's primarily grass-fed as well, with a big reliance on grass silage. Not as heavily reliant as Ireland, for whatever reason. Ireland is really heavily reliant on grass silage. Good lord. I remember, I think it was last year, the year before, there was a very long winter and silage levels were getting critically low across the country, and it made the news. Good lord, lads, there's no silage left. What'll we do? Feck it, we've got hay. You can feed them hay, it's a last resort. And you're supposed to be feeding them hay as well as silage. But the silage, it's great for the cows in the winter. I don't know why I'm putting on a fake Irish accent. I already have one. I apologise to, I guess, everyone in Ireland despite being Irish. That was kind of mildly offensive. I apologise for all Irish farmers, definitely, because that was just a bit offensive in general. And I know I've gone on rants where it's impossible to not offend people. That was me, actually, you know, being offensive by being a moron. And if you're being a moron and you're offensive, you have to apologise. If you're saying something that you truly believe and you're offensive, either your beliefs are genuinely offensive, a lot of born-again Christians, or you know, you believe in something that some people find offensive, and that's kind of okay. That's perfectly fine, in my opinion. I'm nuts. I think we're going to leave it here. Crack out the drone camera and get rolling with that. Because this is going to take a while, and well, I want to get an idea of how many bales I'm getting and what they're doing. And getting close to the time I'm going to be baling, so I will leave it here until I see you again, guys. I don't know that. Words. Until I see you again, stay safe and goodbye.